There's a stat making the rounds that has everyone's attention. LinkedIn is now the #2 most cited source in AI answers. But, that surprising fact isn't really why most companies are struggling to win in this new era of search. The real story is much, much deeper, and understanding it is the key to winning in this new landscape.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down why LinkedIn's new role really matters. We'll walk through the seen, believed, chosen framework, dissect what AI is actually looking for, uncover this critical trust gap, and then lay out a new playbook. We'll end with a final thought on what reputation really means right now.
All right, let's start with that big headline number. LinkedIn has really emerged as a primary source for AI, which fundamentally changes its role from, just a professional network to a key player in how AI shapes our understanding of the world. Based on an analysis of over 300,000 unique prompts, it turns out that LinkedIn content now appears in roughly 11% of all AI-generated responses. Now, to put that in perspective, that puts it ahead of Wikipedia, ahead of YouTube, and every major news publisher. It's a huge shift in the information landscape.
And this brings us to the central question, doesn't it? Visibility is one thing, but actually getting customers is something else entirely. The data shows that simply being cited by an AI doesn't automatically translate into business success.
To really understand that gap, we need a better framework. The marketing strategist Will Reynolds offers this really simple but powerful sequence that just perfectly captures the challenge of this new AI-driven world. The journey is just 3 steps. First, you have to be seen. Then you need to be believed, and only then can you actually be chosen. The problem is most AI optimization strategies, they get you to step 1 and then they just stop, leaving the most important parts of the equation completely unsolved. Okay, so to even get to that first step, to get seen, we really need to understand what the AI is actually looking for on LinkedIn. What kind of content consistently makes the cut? Well, the data reveals exactly that.
It's absolutely critical to understand that visibility isn't uniform across the board. ChatGPT and Google's AI mode, for instance, cite LinkedIn way more often than Perplexity does. So this isn't a one-size-fits-all game. Your strategy has to account for these platform-specific behaviors.
And here's a fascinating detail that most people overlook. When an AI cites your content, it shows about a 0.60 semantic overlap. What that means is the AI isn't just linking to you, it is actively repeating your framing, your language, and your conclusions in its answer. Your content literally becomes the narrative.
The data is incredibly clear about what gets cited. AI prioritizes originality. A whopping 95% of citations are for original posts. It favors educational, advice-driven content, especially articles between 500 and 2,000 words. And it rewards consistency, posting 5 or more times a month, way more than it rewards simple virality or follower counts. Now, this illustrates a really critical strategic split. Perplexity heavily favors content from company pages, while ChatGPT and Google's AI, they prefer content from individual members. The takeaway here is pretty clear. You can't just rely on one or the other. You absolutely need a dual strategy to get full coverage. Okay, so let's say you've done everything right. You're creating the right content on the right cadence for the right platforms. You are being seen. But now we come to the hardest part of the journey, bridging that gap between visibility and trust. This quote really gets to the heart of the matter. A citation, that's a technical achievement. Being chosen is a business outcome. They are not the same thing, and confusing them is probably the single biggest mistake you can make right now.
And right here, this is the trap. Content that's optimized purely for AI visibility can often feel, generic. It gets you the impressions, sure, but it doesn't build the authority or the credibility that makes the buyer trust you enough to actually choose you over a competitor.
And this is exactly why trust is so vital. Research is showing that up to 44% of AI prompts already include specific brand names. Think about that. People aren't just asking, what are my options? They're asking, help me compare brand A and brand B. They're already at the end of their journey, and in that moment, trust is the only thing that matters.
So, how do you build that trust? How do you create a reputation that an AI doesn't just see, but one that it reflects accurately and favorably? Well, that requires a new playbook, one that goes far beyond just publishing on LinkedIn. Here is the absolute key to that playbook. A study found that when content was distributed through trusted third-party publishers, what we call earned media, it saw a 325% lift in AI citations compared to content that only lived on a brand's own website. The strategic implication of that data is profound.
Your LinkedIn content strategy and your public relations strategy, they can't be separate things anymore. The very best content you create for LinkedIn should also be pitched to industry publications to build that multi-domain authority that AI systems recognize as legitimate.
So the complete playbook, it looks like this. You create original educational content that's actually worth citing. You build authority through both your company and individual profiles. You actively track and audit what AI says about you in branded prompts, and crucially, you leverage earned media to amplify it all. And this brings us to the final, and perhaps the most important takeaway from all of this data. It's a fundamental reframing of how we should think about AI's role in our brand's future. AI is a mirror. It doesn't invent what people think about you. It synthesizes and reflects the reputation you've already built out there in the world through your content, your expertise, and your authority. The goal, then, isn't to game the AI. It's to build a brand worth reflecting in the first place.